on a piece of paper becomes public record.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's this?
Is that mine? Okay.
What did I score?
Did you take mine?
Oh,
Are you good?
I have, I'm missing one.
All right, it is December 10th. We're going to open the
I'm missing one.
Charlton Board of Selectmen meeting, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance before we call on the first meeting. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You guys want to approve this, the questions, and I'll go get the first candidate.
All right.
Did you make multiple copies of the scoring sheet?
So we narrowed it down
You
to,
just print out.
we narrowed it down to,
We're getting there, folks. This is, you know, we don't do this often, but we're getting there.
So just while we're waiting, just so you know the process that we use, the Board of Selectmen each submitted their bank of questions. We pooled them together, and tonight, prior to the meeting, we selected the questions we're gonna actually be asking the candidates. So these were questions that were determined tonight, just prior to the meeting.
Oh, do you want to mention that Andrew will be asking the questions to make it more fair?
Yeah, and we'll be facilitating all candidates. The questions will be asked through Andrew Golis, the town administrator.
Mr. Chair, I just want to point out the part of the reasoning as well for the late decision on the questions was simply because it would also ensure that no member of the board even knew the slate of questions that would be selected in advance. Just another
That's the point.
effort
Maintain the
to keep
integrity of the
things.
process.
transparency, you're right, and neither did any of us. Right, right.
What this is. This is nothing.
Yeah, it should be quicker.
This is a joke.
Yeah, well, if we just have to refer.
Yeah. There's also not true.
Agreed. Agreed. We're from here.
Dude, I told my, I should be so bad as you. I should told my boss to space. I see it here from just 19, just refer to the. Yeah.
I just would like,
Yeah.
Cat's part.
I didn't need to.
I just want to,
So now.
Thank you very much.
So I'll be asking all the questions on behalf of the board. The board will be scoring, considering, so we'll take loose and we'll go one after another, all right?
Okay, excellent.
All right, ready for the first question?
Absolutely.
All right. Why are you interested in the chief's position, and what makes you uniquely qualified to be the next Charlton Fire Chief? Should say an added introduction.
Good evening, thank you for this opportunity. I'm interested in the Charlton Fire Chief's position because I believe the greatest opportunity to affect change is to put yourself in a position where you can have the greatest influence on that change. For the last 24 years, as a firefighter, as a full-time firefighter in multiple different departments, I've gained the experience and knowledge that I believe is needed in order to be a fire chief. Taking multiple classes that I've had through the Massachusetts Fire Academy, furthering my ability as a paramedic to provide the best possible pre-hospital care to patients and the citizens that I have served in the different departments that I've worked in, furthering my college level experience through multiple college degrees, looking for ways that provides me a better opportunity to serve the people that I work for. I believe I'm uniquely, I believe what keeps me standing out from the other candidates, which they're all very good candidates, is I grew up in this area. I was raised in the town of Dudley next door. My wife was raised in this town. We moved into this town 21 years ago. This is the town that I wanted to live in. This is the town that I've stayed in. I've been here the whole time. My children have gone through the school system. One of them is still currently in the school system. I'm involved in the community through multiple boards and agencies. I want to give back to the community that has allowed my family the opportunities that we've received. And being the fire chief will allow me to have that greatest opportunity to give back and serve the citizens that, I'm tasked with serving.
It's just, if Robbie, if you could pull that microphone closer to you, I'm thinking about the people at home.
So for the next ones, if you can limit the answer to 2 to 3 minutes, and we'll go through each one here. The first one's relative to leadership. Leaders must motivate their teams. Please describe an experience when you were responsible for managing change as a leader.
So there's several opportunities that have arisen in my time as a captain over the last 8 years in regards to leadership. But one important change that took place is when I was a firefighter, I noticed that there were some things that needed to be improved upon. When I got the opportunity to improve upon them, I was going to seize that opportunity. And we didn't have clear expectations as firefighters. We didn't know really what our day-to-day operations are. Our jobs were, when calls came in, people didn't know what to do, where to go. I recognized that there was times in the morning where we weren't really ready to go the minute we walked in the door. So I effectuated a change with my shift. And I told my crew, your personal safety is the most important, and then our ability to do our job for the citizens is next. So starting today, when you walk in the fire station, you will put your gear out at your riding position, and you will check your personal protective equipment to make sure it's all there. So in the event that the tones go off at any moment, you're able to respond with all the gear that you're needed to go on. You're then gonna check your air pack, which is the life-saving equipment for that firefighter. Those are the two things that are gonna keep a firefighter safe to make sure they go home. I explained to the firefighters the reason for this change and not just telling them because I said so. I gave them the understanding of why this change is so important and why are we gonna start doing things differently, benefit for us and benefit for the citizens. And what it had done afterwards within a short period of time is other shifts started following suit, and that was the change that took place when I first became an officer.
The next question is, what do you see as the biggest challenges facing the fire service over the next several years? And what specifically needs to be done by our fire department to address those challenges?
I think the biggest challenge that we are facing, or the fire service in general is facing, is personnel. It is a known fact that there are far less people interested in becoming EMS providers, specifically paramedics. We spend a lot of time on recruitment of employees, but I think we probably should be spending a little bit more time and energy on retention of employees, making sure that the employees that we've put through the process, we've hired, we've trained them, we've given them the fire academy, we've given them a salary for a year, 2 years, or 3 years. We gotta look at ways to keep them here and prevent them from going to another agency, and then they get to reap the benefit of what Charlton has already done the last 3 years. It's very costly to train employees. It's very time consuming for the organization. And it's very difficult for us to kind of go further down that road and kind of get stuck in our, in a certain area of the path, because we're still trying to catch people up to where we are, all of the new hires. So I think in the fire service as well as Charlton, we need to find ways to recruit the good employees, the excellent employees that we have, but more importantly, retain the ones that we have as well.
Describe what your first 90 days in office here as the fire chief would look like if you were chosen.
It's an excellent question, and I actually made up a transition plan to help myself out with this. First things first is due to the timing of this appointment, mid-year, mid-fiscal year, it is extremely important for the fire chief to have an understanding of where we are sitting in the budget, the current budget. More importantly, where do we sit in the progression of the development of the future budget, the next fiscal year's budget as well. So that will be the first and foremost. Next would be having a meeting and a discussion with the current fire chief and the current deputy fire chief to discuss the projects that are currently in place, to discuss the projects that we are just starting, and discuss projects that we had thought about starting in the next, 3 to 6, 9 months. The fire chief's job is to have that vision of the organization and to start putting in places things that we can actually work towards to create that vision. Next will be meetings with other department heads to find out an analysis of the feelings of the Charlton Fire Department. Is there anything that we need to be working on to help them out in their department and to better serve them? Meeting with members of the Board of Selectmen as well as the town administrator is vitally important to get an idea of where they feel, or you guys feel, the department needs to start, progressing towards. And then it'll allow me to start developing a plan for that progression. Last thing would be like the important stakeholders that we have within the area to ensure that we are ready to respond in the event of a disaster. This time of year, the last thing we want to have is a disaster to take place and to find out that just some simple change could have been done to make us better prepared.
How will you maintain and enhance community involvement with the fire department?
The fire department is more than just going on calls. Yes, that is our number one priority, is to go on calls. Firefighters need to come to work understanding that that is your job, is to go on calls, is to answer calls for service from the citizens. But the fire department plays such a vital role in other aspects of our jobs, between participating in community activities, Old Home Day, Blueberry Festival, other activities that we have in town, having a positive, shedding a positive light on the organization. Oftentimes, just our presence alone allows citizens to come up to us and ask us simple questions of smoke detector questions, or carbon monoxide questions, or I want to sell my house and I don't know the process, my real estate agent said something about an inspection. Answering their questions about health questions or fall prevention questions as well, or just educating them about our organization. 10 years ago when I started here, there was a large number of people that we would interact with that didn't know that we were actually a full-time organization, that we had firefighters there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They were moving into our town and they had no idea that we were there. And through our efforts and the efforts of the organization, I see that less and less often now. But it's important, for us to have that vision, meeting up with the schools and seeing what other events that we can be involved in. We had a very good event going on with this elementary school called the Choose to Be Nice Club. And those kids would come to the fire station a couple times a year, and they would interact with the firefighters, and we could give them simple safety messages all the time. And Boy Scouts would come in and stuff, and it not only educate the children, but it also gives us an opportunity to interact with the adults as well.
If you were building a budget for your department, what would your budget priorities be?
I pulled the last 3 years' budgets off the website, and I looked at the trends that we have currently in our organization with personnel. Our personnel is our largest expense, obviously. It's the people that can get the job done for us. So making sure that we have inadequate personnel in order to provide the services that the citizens not only expect, but they deserve to have as well. Training is the next component to our budget. Without us investing in our employees through training, it actually has a compound effect of them not being able to perform their jobs well enough, which then puts the town at risk for injuries. And then there is a component of firefighters getting very frustrated when they're not able to perform their jobs, and it has a mental health effect on them afterwards. So investing in the training to make sure that they are adequately prepared to respond to emergencies is important. Lastly, just as important is the maintenance of the apparatus. If we don't invest in the maintenance of our apparatus, and if we don't take care of it, then it has a detrimental effect to the organization, and the fact that it's gonna cost us more money to maintain that apparatus when we wait for problems, and replacing apparatus is not very cheap either. Not only do we have a cost associated with replacing apparatus, but the time nowadays. You used to be able to get an apparatus in about 4 months, maybe 5 months. Now we're talking almost a year and a half, sometimes 2 years to get a truck with the added cost. So maintenance is a priority item as well. And then the other ancillary duties that we have within the organization.
The next few questions are related to tactical communications and decision-making. Communication is important during times of emergency and everyday operation. Describe how you would communicate with the town administrator, board of selectmen, fellow emergency management personnel, including the police department and other departments within town. How would you address issues that potentially would arise between your department and another?
So communication is probably, in my opinion, the most important job of the fire chief in order to be an effective leader, is to be able to effectively communicate, to keep everybody abreast. I was fortunate enough through my college that I was able to develop a crisis communication plan as one of my projects, and I found it very interesting in order to create a list of individuals that need to be notified during certain times in events, whether it's an emergency incident, whether it's a motor vehicle accident that one of our town vehicles were involved in, whether it's a potential PR mess. So communication through the means that we determine is the best opportunity. Sometimes a simple phone call allows us to discuss that message and get that message out. Emails, if it's doesn't warrant an immediate phone call in the middle of the night, then maybe a follow-up email the next day, and then going on with in-person meetings to make sure that we kind of get ahead of any problem that we may see, to ensure that the right steps are put in place. As we know, when we don't give a message, people will tend to write their own story. So it is important for us to make sure that if we can release a message, that we release a message, but communicating with the leaders of the organization or leaders of the town to make sure that that right message is being given out. I've built up a relationship over the years with Chief Dowd and the other leaders of the Charlton Police Department, and there's been instances where we've communicated, recently, at an incident that took place. So I think having that ability to pick up the phone and understanding the importance of picking up that phone as well, making sure that everybody's aware of what's going on.
If you do not agree with the decision of the board of selectmen or the town administrator, how would you handle the situation?
Again, communication. Communication is vitally important to make sure that I may not agree with the decision, and it could be just because of clarity. If there's clarity and there's a clear understanding as to the decision, then that's the decision. We can have cordial conversations, and we can have a discussion of wants and needs and the reason why we're doing something. But as long as there's an opportunity to get any questions answered, then that's all that's really is necessary. A lot of times people have a bigger disagreement with something is because they just don't know the answers to the reason why.
One of your firefighters goes on a call for a motor vehicle accident. You respond to the scene as incident command. Upon arrival, they discover that the victim is a close friend of the firefighter. In your role as chief, how would you handle the firefighter on scene and after the call?
So on the call, the firefighter gets removed from the incident immediately. I personally feel with the experience that I have in the incidences that I've responded to, that it is important to remove that firefighter from the incident. It puts the individual in greater jeopardy, the firefighter in greater jeopardy as far as the emotional attachment to the incident. I have the ability, I have the certifications to sort of step in if need be, based on staffing model, in order to fill that role until we can get additional resources to the scene. But it's not fair to the employee to subject them to have to take care of somebody that's a close relative. You're really putting them at a complete disadvantage. And then afterwards, it's important to have the conversations with them to make sure that they are they're okay, and that they understand that there's services available to them. We provide the right services available to them. And I think that happens based off of gaining a level of trust. And that trust starts even before that call takes place. For that firefighter to understand that it's okay, that we can have this conversation, we'll make sure that we're there for them, we'll take care of them. If they need to go home for the day, if they need to go home for a week or whatever, we'll make sure that they're okay in order for them to be able to return to the job and be able to do their job.
Describe your experience relative to emergency medical services.
I just want to ask, is it for the firefighters or is it responding to emergencies for the citizens?
Your overall professional experience in emergency medical service.
My experience in emergency medical services started 30 years ago. I became a basic EMT. I was that kid that was a first responder when he was 16 years old, became a lifeguard, had some, we'll say some good incidences, some good, calls that I went on, hungered for more, went and became an EMT, joined the Dudley Fire Department, worked there as an EMT, went on as many calls as I possibly could, took as many trainings as I possibly could, and then I became very frustrated very early on in my career because I didn't realize that there was actually a higher level of care that could be provided to patients. And I would go to these calls and I would recognize that these patients needed that higher level of care, but I had to call for someone else to come, and there was a delay in patient care, whether they came from that community or whether they came from another community. So I went and decided to go to paramedic school. So I enrolled in paramedic school in 1998. I graduated in paramedic school and I completed paramedic school and I became a certified paramedic. And then I immediately started working as a paramedic in order to provide the best possible care. And I did that for 5 years or so. And then I recognized that there's actually another level that you can go higher than that. There's an agency in the area that provides a service called rapid sequence intubation. And it's the highest level of pre-hospital care that we can do here. Not a lot of agencies do it, and that's where I wanted to be. Because I didn't want to be in a situation where I had a patient that needed a level of treatment and I wasn't able to provide that level of treatment. So I did the necessary steps and I got hired at Worcester EMS and I started working there. And I worked there for 19 years. 8 years of it, I was full-time there, and I was full-time at Southbridge Fire at the same time. I did that so my wife could stay at home and provide for our family as a stay-at-home mom, and I just worked 2 jobs. I was a field training officer for a long time, just to, in order to, I wanted to share my knowledge and skills with new hires in order to make sure that they were ready to take care of patients as well. While as a paramedic, I assisted the Southbridge Fire Department with getting up their ambulance service up to the paramedic level. I was their EMS training officer for a long time. I was their EMS coordinator for a very long time. I I came over to Charlton Fire and I became their EMS training officer over here as well, focusing on ensuring that the personnel were ready to respond and able to respond and provide a high level of care to the people that we're tasked with serving.
Any closing remarks for the board?
You know, the greatest professional achievement I could have gotten is tonight, is my ability to sit in front of you and meet the qualifications, and be given an opportunity to speak to you as a potential candidate for the fire chief. It's sort of weird in the fact that 23 years ago I became a firefighter, and I had this little glimmer of hope that at some point I'll be able to hopefully become a fire chief, and I made my path and I created my path, and my family has sacrificed a tremendous amount for me to be able to do this path. And I'm fortunate and I'm grateful. And I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to do it in the community that I reside in. I'm in a minority in the fire department in the sense that I believe that you should reside in the town that you serve for. And then in the fire service, that is a minority viewpoint. So I am extremely grateful that I have this opportunity to work in this town, and I hope you guys say it all the time that we have the best fire department, and I hope that I can become the fire chief of the best fire department. Thank you.
Thank you.
And a copy of that
Together and all.
transition plan.
Yeah.
I can give it to you. Just a copy of that transition plan that I talked about.
What's that? So about 10 questions here. I'm going to be asking all 10 of them. Ask that you keep your answers to about 2 to 3 minutes, just in the interest of time. First question I'll go into is first introduce yourself. And why are you interested in the chief position, and what makes you uniquely qualified to be the next Charlton Fire Chief?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for extending the invitation. I certainly appreciate it. My name is Dennis Carlson. I'm currently the captain of the Community Risk Reduction Division within the Charlton Fire Department. That is a new position. When I was promoted back in 2018, Chief Knopf had taken the existing inspector's position and created this Community Risk Reduction Division. And it's a newer concept in the New England region, but not so much in the American Fire Service. And me as a person, came into the full-time fire service a little bit later on in life. I considered that a benefit because I had a little more life experience under my belt as opposed to getting this earlier on, which I had originally anticipated. But I joined the Northborough Fire Fire Department as an explorer in 1994. So I've been in and around the fire service for about 30 years now. Was hired by full-time call firefighter in 97 when I turned 18. Went to Eastern Kentucky University and got my bachelor's degree in fire protection administration. After that, I came back after doing a brief stint in Las Vegas, working for Las Vegas Fire Rescue and internship. Came back to Massachusetts and began my pursuit for a career in the profession. Got sidetracked for a little bit, started dispatching for a while, got my foot back in, continued the call firefighter service. And when Charlton extended the opportunity full-time, I jumped on it. I've been ecstatic to work for this organization and this community since then. I enjoy the individuals that I work with on a daily basis, and I'm looking forward to the next chapter. This position is something that I've aspired to be since I was about a 12 or 13-year-old boy when I started chasing fire trucks because my brother was an explorer at the time. So this is something I've been preparing for about 30 years, and I look forward to the opportunity.
Next question is about your leadership. Leaders must motivate their teams. Describe an experience when you were responsible for managing change as a leader.
So, like I had said a little bit earlier, when I was promoted to captain of community risk reduction, it was a new division. There was no template for it within the organization. There was no predecessor to rely on. And the chief handed the keys over, and I took them and I started the engine, and I haven't stopped since. I look forward to coming to work each and every day. Getting people on board and getting people to participate was a challenge and an exciting one. Right now, we have 15 different members of the organization that participate within community risk reduction on a regular basis. Those people are safe educators, those people are car seat technicians, those people are CPR instructors, a variety of attributes that we bring to the community. You've seen the red signs that are all over town. That falls under our purview within community risk reduction. So managing that change from just being a fire inspector to being the captain of community risk reduction, overseeing the amount of people that I do manage on a daily basis, is something that's prepared me for this position. I look forward to coming to work and managing and dealing with and working with all those individuals. They all bring their positive attributes. They all have their strengths that we try to expound on and grow on, and we try to work on the aspects of their profession or their personality that maybe they need a little development on, so that's exciting as well. But working within, when I took the job as the fire inspector and the captain of CRR, a big part of that decision was the ability to see the administrative end of the organization and to work with the chief and the fire chief and the 4 shift captains. And that's been a huge benefit to me personally, professionally, the growth that it's offered, working with the individuals that have sat in the different chairs at different times has been a very beneficial aspect to my professional and personal growth.
What do you see as the biggest challenges facing the fire service over the next several years? What specifically needs to be done by our fire department to help address those challenges?
Over the next several years, I think we're already seeing with staffing and availability of individuals to fill vacancies. It's nothing that this town is different than any other community in the area, in the country. The folks that want to get in this profession, well, they're still there. There's just not as many of them. The avenues to get in this profession are still there. There's just not many people taking advantage of those opportunities. So making things more appealing to the individual, we got to get creative. We have to evolve with them. We can't rely on the techniques of 10, 15, 20, 30 years. We have to get creative. We have to want them to get involved. We have to sell ourselves, make sure that they're seeing the benefits of working for a community, working for individuals within a community, and making it a better place to live and work.
Describe what your first 90 days in office as fire chief would look like if you were chosen.
The first 90 days will probably go fairly quickly, I anticipate, and I look forward to that challenge. We're in a state of flux right now, and obviously the determination tonight will dictate which direction we go in, and I'm excited for that opportunity. I think it starts with honest, open conversations and open lines of communication. I think we have to start with maybe some conversations, hearing things that we may not want to hear, or saying things that people may not want to hear when it comes out of our mouths, because difficult conversations build camaraderie, they build continuity, they build a positive working relationship. As long as things are done constructively, professionally, you start to develop that respect and the admiration of the other individuals that you're working with, so that you can get to that common goal. And working towards a common goal, knowing what the common goal is, establishing expectations on a daily basis from the chief's position to entry-level firefighter position. Know what you're supposed to do on a daily basis when you come to work, so that you can execute your expectations, meet them, exceed them, and develop yourself personally. But having those conversations, getting the ball rolling in the right direction, growing the relationships that are already established, and that's what I see as a benefit for me, is having worked with a majority of the individuals already on a daily, one-on-one basis or within a small group. I've already established those relationships. There's not going to be much to continue on that already hasn't, the foundation, the groundwork's already been laid.
How will you maintain and enhance community involvement with the fire department?
Within CRR, we've already established a great rapport within the community. We're at Old Home Day, we have a tent and a presence there each year. We're out in the communities, not just responding to calls, but meeting and introducing ourselves and interacting with the general public on a non-emergency basis. Delivering buckets of sand in the winter, which has already started. We've already delivered couple dozen at this point. But just showing them what opportunities the fire department offers to them. It's not just an emergency response service anymore. It's an all hazards approach. If you have a flooded basement, if you have slippery stairs, if you have any sort of personal need for assistance, the fire department's who you're supposed to call. We're always the one to respond to whatever situation presents itself. We're problem solvers, we're task oriented, we're team oriented, and growing that aspect of the organization, which I think you can always improve on, is what I would like to focus on in the first 90 days.
If you were building a budget for your department, what would your priorities be?
Vehicle maintenance would be a priority. We have an aging fleet. We are getting some new pieces, but the pieces we have now are starting to get into that first and second round of tires. The wear and tear of the amount of work that we do on the vehicles. Obviously, staffing concerns, so budgetary, concerns regarding staffing. With the substation coming, the support from the community for the substation was fantastic. We certainly appreciate that. So the budgetary concerns primarily are going to be around staffing, getting our numbers up so that we can staff both facilities accordingly to serve the community as best we can. And then, there's always the incurring costs of either SCBA replacements, because ours are coming up on 20 years. It's going to be turnout year. It's going to be, who knows what's going to come down the road in the next few years that we're going to have to face if there's another pandemic, if there's a catastrophic failure of a piece of apparatus, if there's something happens to headquarters that we're going to need some sort of major renovation or work to. We just need to be prepared and to be able to facilitate getting the community on board to support us, because they know that we're not just an emergency response agency, that we're an all hazards agency, and that we're not just here trying to take their money and to spend it needlessly. It's going to go to a necessity, it's going to go to a need, so that we can continue to grow. Because this department has come from, in the 8 years I've been here, it's come leaps and bounds from where we began, and we're looking forward to taking that turn, getting around that next corner, growing the department a little bit more, getting our folks better trained, getting them some apparatus that they can rely on a daily basis.
Next few questions are about tactics, communication, and decision-making. Communication is important during times of emergency and everyday operation. Describe how you would communicate with the town administrator, board of selectmen, fellow emergency management personnel, including the police department, and other departments within town. How would you address issues that potentially would arise between your department and another?
I would develop open lines of communication. I wouldn't want town hall to be not informed of any decisions that we were considering down at that fire headquarters. I want to make sure that there's a mutual respect that goes both ways, that we can have the tough conversations, the difficult conversations, and that we can work towards collaboration to get a common goal accomplished. Working with our counterparts with the police department, I would meet on a regular basis. We would develop and consider each other's 5, 10, 15, 20-year plans to see if they align, to see if we have common goals that maybe we can join forces on and try to push forward on. The Board of Selectmen, again, I would meet regularly. I would inform either on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis, and if not in person, it would be electronic communication with updates from the organization, where we stand, where we'd like to go. And then also include that on the back end with our evolving 10-year, 20-year plans, just to make sure that we're in line up here at Town Hall with what our aspirations are down the hill. Issues that arise, I'd face them head on. We would have to have some difficult conversations, and you know, the respect that would be earned back and forth would dictate the outcomes. You know, we're not gonna expect to get our way each and every single time. It's a mutual respect back and forth. There's a compromise. It's working with each other to get to the common good.
If you do not agree with the decision of the Board of Selectmen or town administrator, how would you handle the situation?
This particular one, or in general?
In general.
In general, for lack of a better term, I'd have to take my medicine. I mean, I don't have the right answer every single time. If we present a situation or present a need, a want, a desire, we'll put our best foot forward, and we can only give you the information that we have. If the board disagrees or doesn't see it that way, I'd like to have the conversations to see if there's a separate path that we can get to the end goal. See what your concerns or questions would be. I would present some of mine, maybe a little more depth to an issue or problem or concern, and would come to an agreement. Some sort of concessions or agreements would be made. That's something that I've taken as the inspector here in town on that end of CRR. I've developed relationships with the folks on construction projects in town, with folks here in town hall, with other businesses in town, the schools, things of that nature. We've developed these relationships that have a mutual respect back and forth, where you get a lot accomplished when you just have an honest, straightforward conversation.
One of your firefighters goes on a call for a motor vehicle accident. You respond to the scene as incident command. Upon arrival, they discover the victim is a close friend of the firefighter. In your role as chief, how would you handle the firefighter on scene and post-call?
On scene, I would expect the firefighter to act professionally and within their duties and responsibilities. If I feel that the call is going south, there's obviously going to be more people on scene. We can call in additional resources. We can call in mutual aid if necessary. We are expected to act in a professional manner in dire circumstances and dire situations. Now, that's something I would never want to put any of the members in that predicament, but we do work in a profession that when you work in a small town like this and you have relationships, there are the potential for an exposure to a personal relationship or a personal situation where you're expected to act accordingly. Post-call, I would 100% have a sit-down, face-to-face, closed-door meeting with this individual. I would want to make sure that they're comfortable, that they're content psychologically. That part of our profession is something that we're getting a little bit better at, but we're not great at executing after actions or, debriefings or whatever you wanna call them, depending on the situation. But I would certainly sit down with the person, make sure that they were okay. If I felt they couldn't continue in the shift, if it went to a minimum, we would offer the shift out to someone else that wanted to come in and work the shift, but I wouldn't wanna put someone in a position where they weren't in the right frame of mind to be able to respond to either another emergency or drive a piece of apparatus where they weren't in a clear perspective.
Please describe your personal experience as it relates to emergency medical services.
My personal experience in response to emergency medical services, I got my basic EMT in 1999, and I've been working at that level ever since. It's something that I enjoy doing. I don't get the opportunity that much anymore to do it, but I do believe that at that level, I can execute my job accordingly. I enjoy working with and have in the past at different organizations that I've been a part of, have enjoyed working with the paramedic level individuals that offer that next level of care. It's been a pleasure to work alongside a large majority of the folks. There's been a few that I always like to take away from positive and negative experiences, and the negative ones, the bedside manner folks that just don't seem to execute very well, I take away things from them as well. So there's some that didn't really execute to my expectations, and I process that and I rationalize, well, maybe in the future I'm not gonna treat an individual a certain way. But as a basic EMT for 25 years now, it's been a pleasure to serve the communities that I have, and it's been an expectation from the managers that I've worked under to be able to execute within the state protocols, operate within them, know them, and make sure that you're doing the best you can for the patient that you're interacting with.
Do you have any final closing remarks for the board?
Certainly, again, I want to reiterate, I appreciate your consideration, I appreciate your time. The Charlton Fire Department is a better place now than it was when I was hired a little over 8 years ago, and I look forward to the future. I would be privileged and honored to serve as the fire chief for the town of Charlton. I would look forward to working with the board and the community as a whole. I believe the experience that I've gained in developing relationships with folks, I hope a lot of the letters of recommendation made it into the packets. I hope they were kind words, I didn't see them, but I hope the folks that I did reach out to gave you an opportunity to see who I am operating within the community, operating with folks that I have grown up and known personally for years, and also folks within the community that I've developed those relationships, I've fostered them. We have that mutual respect for one another, and sometimes you have the conversations that aren't comfortable to have, but this profession requires you to have those, and you can't shy away from it. You have to face things head on and make sure you get the job done. So I just want to thank you very much for your time and consideration. If there's anything else you would like me to follow up on, I'd be more than happy to supplement the packet that you have. I just appreciate your time.
Thanks, Kevin.
So I'll be asking all the questions on behalf of the board. You want to keep your answers to about 2 to 3 minutes each, about 10 questions to ask. Our first question is, of course, introductory, so please introduce yourself and why you are interested in the chief's position and what makes you uniquely qualified to be the next Charlton Fire Chief.
Obviously, my name is Scott Corio. I've been the deputy chief here in Charlton for the past 14 months. I have about 32 years of experience in the fire service. Began in 1992, joining as a volunteer. I became a full-time firefighter in 95 for the town of North Providence. Worked my way through the ranks, becoming a lieutenant in 2008. In 2016, I became an assistant deputy state fire marshal for the town of North Providence, which the responsibilities with that were fire investigation as well as inspections. In 2018, I became a team leader for the hazardous materials decontamination team that we ran. That was also a state team where we covered a little more than half of the state of Rhode Island, including all of Providence and East Providence to East Bay, all the way down to the Mount Hope Bridge. 2019, I was promoted to the rank of fire captain. That responsibility, I was in charge of the ladder truck, so responsible for the truck itself, maintenance of it, all the equipment, purchasing of equipment, and all of the individuals that were assigned to it. In 2021, I was promoted to battalion chief. I spent 2 years as a battalion chief in North Providence. During that time frame, I spent most of that time in the division of training, where I oversaw the hiring of 24 new individuals. I ran 4 consecutive hiring processes, classes, training these individuals. They also went to the State Fire Academy to be trained. They would then come back to me for a month for more training. I also spent approximately 4 months as a shift commander, as a battalion chief. The shift consisted of 19 firefighters, captains, and lieutenants that I was responsible for, dealing with incidents varying of all different sizes. In 2022, I earned an accreditation of Chief Fire Officer. That is a worldwide accreditation. There are currently about 2,000 of them throughout the world, and in the Commonwealth of Mass, there are only 20. I'm one of 20. In 2023, I earned the accreditation through the same company, which is the CPSE. Excuse me, I forget exactly what it stands for right now, drawing a blank, but it's Public Safety Excellence, are the last 3 letters of that. In 2023, I earned the accreditation for Chief Training Officer. I am one of 255 in the country, and in the Commonwealth, there is only 2 of us. In 2023, I became the deputy chief here in Charlton, where I have come to enjoy tremendously. I feel that I fit in quite well. I've sold, my wife and I have moved into renting an apartment in Millbury correctly right now, and we are building a house in town here in Charlton. So.
Thank you. First question is focused on leadership. So leaders must motivate their teams. Describe an experience when you were responsible for managing change as a leader.
Change is never easy in the fire service. We always want change. It's very difficult to get it, and when we do finally end up with change, there's a lot of resistance to it. My personal experiences with change as a leader in the fire service is being in the forefront of it. Whether you agree with it or not, as a leader, if that is what the change is, then you have to put your best foot forward and adhere to it and lead the way. Be the front person where you're the person out there showing the way that it's supposed to be done, the way that you want it done, and the rest will follow. Don't look behind. that's how I've dealt with it through my experiences.
What do you see as the biggest challenges facing the fire service over the next several years? And what specifically needs to be done by our fire department to help address those challenges?
So hiring and retention, I believe, are the most difficult challenges that are currently happening in the fire service. Now, it's not just here in Charlton, it is across the nation. Just to put a little perspective on that, when I became a firefighter in North Providence over 30 years ago, it was to hire 12 people and there were over 1,000 applicants. Nowadays, larger departments, Worcester, Providence, they're only seeing 200 to 300 applications when they open up a process. So Charlton is not unique to not having people wanting to join the fire service anymore. One way of trying to resolve that is to make it a department that people look toward, look up to, and want to be part of. So you have to make it a place where people want to work, which is done through things like training, having good equipment, having good policies and procedures, where those individuals that are working for you currently, you make it an environment that they want to come to every day. They want to be at work. And by doing that, it spreads the word. Firefighters talk to one another constantly. And by having a place that people want to be at and want to work, that in itself, I believe, attracts more individuals. As for having better enrollment with people being hired, I think that across the world, we're having an issue with that. I mean, no matter what field you look at, everyone is having a problem finding people that are interested in being in that service, whichever it is.
Describe what your first 90 days in office here as the new fire chief would look like if you were chosen.
So if I were chosen as fire chief, I would finish a review of all our policies and procedures. I believe that those are a good guideline for individuals on the job. I would also meet with everybody. Once again, even though I know them quite well, I would still meet with them, see what their expectations are of me as a chief. I would meet with the town administrator, the board of selectmen, to see what their expectations are, the direction that they're looking for the department to go, and basically do an internal review of where we stand with everything. In the 14 months that I've been there, I've learned a lot about the department and where it is, where it's at, the equipment we have, obviously the new substation that we're getting. But there also needs to be some planning as well. I know that there are some plans for 3, 5, 10 years out down the road, but you constantly have to look at those. What you did yesterday is not necessarily going to be the future tomorrow. You constantly have to be evaluating everything.
How would you maintain and enhance community involvement with the fire department?
So community involvement, I think we have a great program already established, community risk reduction. I believe that by enhancing that program a little bit more, getting more individuals involved, we get out to the schools as often as we can. But again, there are very few individuals that are able to or have the time to put into that during their work week. If we were able to grow that program, I think that, it's already doing fantastic things, but I think there can be a few more things added that can make it better. It's a matter of planning it out though, and budgeting for it, and trying to evolve it into more than what it is already. I think that the department, the CRR services, they offer tremendous things to the community. And I know that the community loves the things that they see from it. Sands for Seniors, us being in the schools, once a month we try to get there. It's not always feasible. There are other jobs that need to be done, by the inspector, so, there are inspections that are constantly, taking away his time where he can't focus on getting more activities out to the community.
If you were building a budget for your department, what would your priorities be?
So obviously, I would have to look at any contractual obligations that we have first. The town would need to pay those contractual obligations. Our equipment, again, we have contracts with certain equipment so that they are properly maintained and held up to good working order. And then it would be, again, looking at the future to plan things out, to see what needs to be replaced, the time frame that we have left to replace it, how long equipment is going to last. So the life expectancy of everything is different, where we would have to have a schedule and try and arrange and plan for those purchases.
The next few questions are related to tactical communications and decision-making. Communication is important during times of emergency and everyday operation. Describe how you would communicate with the town administrator, board of selectmen, and fellow emergency management personnel, including the police department and other departments within town. How would you address issues that potentially would arise between your department and another?
Can you repeat the first part of that again for me?
I'll reread the whole question.
Okay.
Communication is important during times of emergency and everyday operation. Describe how you would communicate with the town administrator, board of selectmen, fellow emergency management personnel, including the police department, and other departments within town. How would you address issues that potentially would arise between your department and another?
So during an emergency situation, our first wave of communication would be through our radio system. If for some reason we were unable to use our radios, it would then go to, say, cell phones, but it's a matter of prioritizing the incident itself. Obviously, the incident management would come first, as opposed to notifications. Once we got to a point in the incident where it was stabilized enough where notifications could be made to both the town administrator, board of selectmen, it would proceed in that type of a fashion. As for having a problem with another department, that would be something that would need to be addressed in a relative manner that, again, if it's during an incident, it needs to be put aside and documented with more of a, just kind of putting it in the back of your head, so that once the incident is completed and over with, that you can then go to the director, chief, whichever it is of that department, to then discuss what happened, what you think should happen, and try and come up with a better plan so that if the incident of something of that nature were to happen again, it would be handled in a better situation.
If you do not agree with a decision of the board of selectmen or town administrator, how would you handle the situation?
Again, that kind of goes back to my leadership style. Being in a position like this, you're not always, in any position, you're not always going to agree with what you're told to do, but if it's coming from your superiors, I would take that as an order. Again, I would be on the forefront to push through the message or objective of what the town administrator or board of selectmen are expecting of me and my department. And I would, through leadership and by being out in front of everything, show them the way that it's supposed to be done, what is expected of them, and how they should handle this.
One of your firefighters goes on a call for a motor vehicle accident. You respond to the scene as the incident commander. Upon arrival, they discover that the victim is a close friend of the firefighter. In your role as chief, how would you handle the firefighter on scene and post-call?
On scene, I would, if possible, I would try and get them out of the situation. So it's unfortunate that things like this do happen. If there are other firefighters around, police officers, I would have someone like a police officer try and take that individual away from the incident as best they could. It is not something that you want them there to be embellishing, dwelling upon, anything of that nature. Once the incident was over, I would make sure that that individual was given help mentally, even, you know, depending on the state that they're in, maybe even having them go to the emergency room, where a doctor can evaluate them and make sure and follow up, especially in days and weeks later after the incident, that they are seeking professional help and not just ignoring it, and that someone stays on top of that individual and their well-being well after the fact of the incident being over.
Please describe your personal experience relative to emergency medical services.
Again, I've been in the fire service for 32 years. When I became a volunteer call person in 1992, I became an EMT basic. I was hired on the North Providence Fire Department, and a year later, I gained a level that is called EMT cardiac, which is unique to Rhode Island. An EMT cardiac is a level just below a paramedic. So in the state of Rhode Island, I could do 90% of what a paramedic would do here in the state of Massachusetts. So I could do reading of heart rhythms, shocking of patients, starting IVs, giving medications, intubate patients. It was a unique license that is unique to Rhode Island. Here in the state of Massachusetts, I have an advanced license. I'm not able to do the same things that a paramedic can, but I understand most of what they do. And at one point in my career, was doing 90% of what a paramedic does.
Do you have any closing remarks for the board?
No, through my dedication, I think that my dedication shows with what I have done in the past 14 months, being hired as a deputy chief here in Charlton. I take the position very seriously. When I was offered the position, I was told that I had 18 months to move into the state of Massachusetts. Within 4 months, I had uprooted my family and moved into Massachusetts. We are currently, as I already stated, building a house in Charlton. I am committed to being here. I don't plan on leaving. Having served, I was in my 29th year in North Providence. I hope that also shows my dedication. I don't just get up and leave when things are not going my way, or when times get tough and things are not easy to do. I don't just turn my back and leave. And I hope that means something to the board as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy Chief.
Thank you.
Check on that.
Good.
Leave it to the banker to mess up his math. Wow. Chairman, if I may?
Go ahead.
Just curious how you would like to proceed, whether it makes sense to deliberate, vote, would you rather, or the board as a whole, come back and take a vote on a different day after doing more soul searching, or, I mean, I'm pretty much wide open to anything.
Yeah, I'm open for voting tonight, and I'm open for discussion if board members want to have discussion, or if board members don't need discussion, I'm open to voting as well. So I'll open it up to discussion. Anybody has comments?
I'm fine to vote tonight, so Mr. Chair, through you, just one quick thing before it kind of gets more of a round robin discussion. I mean, as a fan of Formula One, I'll say this, it's nice when you can choose between a Ferrari, a McLaren, and a Mercedes. I think when you have three quality candidates, you know, obviously two captains, the deputy chief, et cetera, tremendous experience, it's fantastic. I mean, obviously, there's people dedicated to the town, dedicated to the fire department, making things better. We talked a lot and heard a lot about community involvement, Inspector Faust, Captain Faust has been very involved with that, along with Rob and the deputy chief, which is one of the hallmarks, I think, of the town. It's great to see everyone on an old home day, et cetera. So it's clearly, for me, a very difficult decision. Whoever I vote for, I'm not voting against anybody. I think it's literally just a matter of almost a visceral reaction to say, like, what's my gut telling me? Because on paper, everyone's just ridiculously skilled. And even qualitatively, everyone came across fantastic. So, I mean, I think we have three incredible candidates, and it's just now a matter of, you know, how do we count to three for one of them?
Mr. Chair, if I guess asked to go next, I would agree with Mr. Borowski. I'm taking maybe a slightly different tack to where I am coming at this in my own decision-making process, in that I'm not basing everything just on how you perform in answering questions. Because as a manager in real life and everything else, hiring, firing, managing teams, I've learned a long time ago, some people test well, some people don't test well. Some people interview well, some people don't interview well. So I'd like to take that into account. So for me, I've scored everybody on here, I've made notes, public record. I've also am taking that as a part of my decision-making process, as well as their resumes as another part of my decision-making process. And then also, to Bill's point, there are three outstanding employees, which is nice to have such quality employees, but it also means that the members of the board also have experience with these employees as actually employer-employee. So for me, I'm taking into account three different pieces, and I'm not going to solely judge any one of you on one of those pieces, but in its entirety.
No, I agree with Bill on that. The three candidates, the resumes are fantastic. We're very lucky to have all three. It's certainly going to be a difficult choice. I'm with Peter on trying to make a choice tonight. I think we can probably come up with it if we, with a little bit of deliberation and what we need to do.
And I just want to speak to the process. You know, I'm really happy that the candidates that were presented to us tonight, they were extremely qualified, and I think any one of them could potentially fill the role. And I think it's very important as leaders, both as departments and as a board, to recognize the talent that we have within the town. So I mean, we're breeding everybody for their next role. So I mean, it's great to see that we were able to post it internally and get these candidates.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure how you would prefer to proceed, whether it be just individual, whether it be someone make a motion for discussion, whether it be a roll call type of preference. I mean, personally, I would prefer not to force rank people. But again, I'm wide open. I wanna make sure this is, you know, not to use the word we all use all the time, but make sure that we are transparent as possible about this to make sure that we're all on the same page.
I'd be open for a motion.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'd be happy to make a motion. I'm not gonna force rank people either, but I'll be pretty upfront. I'm gonna make my motion based upon everything that I just said. And all of my notes, as Bill mentioned, these are all public record. So I don't wanna force rank people, but I will be clear that if you did well on the interview, right, but maybe not as well on the resume, it balances out, and vice versa. You may do very well on this and not as well on the resume. Again, it balances out. So I will concur with Bill. Three outstanding candidates, every one of them. I do, for me, however, think there were some mitigating differences that I can't ignore. All three were outstanding, but for me, there was a clear, again, not wanting to force rank people. I'm happy to meet with any of the candidates, whether they get the promotion or don't get the promotion. As I have with anyone who's ever asked me, from fire, police, or any department, asking for advice or guidance, suggestions of what they can maybe do to have advancement opportunities and whatever else. Always happy to give advice and always in here to listen. With that said, they were all three very close, but I would be making a motion to promote Captain Barton to chief.
I'll second for discussion, just procedural.
Alright, so we have a motion and a second, so discussion.
I think Captain Barton would be a fantastic choice. Personally, my reaction right now is to support Deputy Chief Corio. Not taking anything away from Captain Barton, because it's just fantastic.
And correct, and mine does not take anything away
Oh, of course, yeah.
from Deputy Chief Corio or Captain Carlson either. You know, and if people want, I mean, I'm happy to elaborate on what some of the differences were for me, if they want to ask me after, or if anybody wants to ask, I'm an open book.
Oh, okay, so I guess I go. So, thank you very much, all three of you, like everybody here said, outstanding, every single one of you. I was not fun to begin with the process, to be honest with you. I was all about to open it up to the external candidates. But we have voted and that's what it is. I was always under, I always had a hope that our best ones will rise to the occasion anyways. I am into law and insurance. I have no idea about the firefighters' work. So my decision is based on what I have at hand, which precisely is the resumes, recommendations, which I really look closely into. The interviews as one of the elements of all of this, and if you would see my points, which my scores, like David said, it's all public information. This is a 1 point, away between the two candidates that were that I favored, and I will go with Bill. Scott Corio would be my choice.
Going through this process and knowing all of the candidates and going through the scoring process, I would have to agree with David on, it's close, it's very close, but I would have to agree with David for Captain Barton.
And I just want to say, my scoring also was very similar, and the deciding factor for me came down to the EMS experience and the level of calls that we have here in Charlton. And just due to our distance from definitive care, which would be UMass, there's plenty of time for intervention in the field. So, that was really what put Captain Barton over the top for me, is his experience in the EMS services.
So should we take a formal vote?
Yep. So, all in favor?
Aye.
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 So three approve, all opposed,
Opposed, but for different reasons. Yeah.
and 2 opposed.
Captain Barton, congratulations.
Captain Barton, congratulations.
Thank you, Captain Carlson, Deputy Chief Corio.
Thank you. And again, if I may, through the chair, I'm happy to meet with Captain Carlson, Deputy Chief Corio, if they want to ask any of my thoughts on why I scored things the way I did. Of course, they can also read them, but I'm also happy to meet with any of you to answer your questions about maybe what my view was on a score versus another score. Again, happy to meet with anybody and answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a indulgence? I didn't know if it would be proper to at least invite soon-to-be Chief Barton, if he wanted to say anything.
Yes, absolutely.
Rob, not to put you on the spot. If you
No,
want to say
it's okay. I'm sure. First and foremost, thank you very much for selecting me to be the next fire chief. I know that I have a tremendous team that's going to assist me You know, like you said, reiterating two incredible other candidates, and, you know, I'm very grateful for this opportunity, super supportive of my wife and my three boys for being here. You know, I absolutely look forward to working with Deputy Chief Corio and completely learning from him with some of his experience over the last 14 months. Chief Knopf has definitely put us in a tremendous place in our organization over the last 8 years since he's been the leader of our organization, and there is some huge shoes to fill in order to continue what he's created for us. But look forward to the challenge of moving the department, you know, continuing in that direction and moving forward as well. So thank you very much.
Pete, one quick thing?
Yeah.
I don't usually like to speak on behalf of the board, so Basha, feel free to disagree with me when I say this, but regardless of the vote tonight, I want you to know that I would like to think that you have our 100% support on a go-forward basis. So again, congratulations.
Thank you very much, I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
And I would say the same goes for Deputy Chief Corio and
Captain Carlson.
Captain Carlson as well.
Absolutely.
I won't speak for the board, but you have my full support as well, and hopefully continuing long careers, I'm hoping, with Charlton, and continuing to pursue advancement opportunities in Charlton.
Thank you. Can we get 2 minutes?
Yeah.
That's what we're about.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, can we get a motion to review the minutes?
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman, I'd like, to approve the minutes of the November 26th meeting as submitted, please.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Community relations and announcements.
2025 dog licenses are now available, town clerk's office by mail or online. Please see the town clerk's webpage for details and application if mailing. Love is Love 60 Plus. The Charlton Senior Center introduces the Rainbow Cafe, a monthly get-together for LGBTQIA and community to have a safe place to gather. This will be offered on the second Tuesday of every month, and that's at 4 p.m. at the Charlton Senior Center. Those from other communities are welcome to attend as well. Please contact michelle.drum@townofcharlton.net for more information. And on the Charlton Public Library, they present a theatrical performance of A Christmas Carol, and that's on Saturday, December 14th, from 1 to 2 p.m. Charlton Public Library welcomes actors Stephen Collins and Purmina Kirby of New Muse Productions for a performance of The Christmas Carol. This is just a 1 hour adaptation of the play. Registration is requested but not required. Visit our website, event calendar at www.charltonlibrary.org for more information and to register.
Thank you. Is there anybody here for open forum?
Dude, there's nobody here.
Brad's here.
You never know.
I'm sorry, there are 4 people.
Well, 3.5. I don't count her.
Do we want to jump down to new business?
Alright, first order of new business is the 2025 license renewals by the Board of Selectmen. Attached are the list of licenses to be renewed by the Board of Selectmen for year 2025. The building, fire, and police departments have done their inspections on liquor license establishments and have given their approval. Please note that Treehouse has requested an extension to extend their hours until 11 p.m. and also to be open New Year's Eve until 1 a.m. These are all within the hours which are allowed. It's recommended the board approve the 2025 license renewals as presented pending all paperwork and fees received.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr.
if it pleases the board, I'd like to make a motion that we approve them all en masse so that we don't have to go through all 89 of them or however many there are.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion?
None at all?
All in favor?
Aye?
Unanimous.
Andrew, I even scored the resume.
I will mess that.
Yeah, please go on.
The next Board of Selectmen meeting date. The board's next regular meeting will be on December 24th, 2024, which is Christmas Eve. The town hall will be closing at noon per the personnel policies. Does the board wish to have a meeting on a different night or wait until January 14th?
Mr. Chairman, again, if it pleases the board, I would happily wait until January.
Got a motion?
If we need one, sure. Yeah, motion to, our back to our normal cadence in January, because it's budget season anyway, so.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Yes.
Next order of business is addressing the open meeting law complaint filed by Charlton Permanent Firefighters Local 4023. We received an open meeting law complaint from Travis McDonald on behalf of the Charlton Permanent Firefighters Local 4023 filed with the town clerk on November 27th, 2024. The board must meet to review the complaint within 14 business days. I recommend the board, after review, refer the matter to myself and legal counsel for a response.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we refer this matter to the TA and legal counsel to respond.
Second for discussion.
Motion and a second.
I just have a question. So because we have to refer this to council, does that mean I shouldn't say anything about it?
You should probably refrain until it is.
Okay, I'll leave it as a second.
Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Do you want to go with your report?
Sure. So starting with our DCRSD Student Selectmen Report for Shepherd Hill. For athletics, since registration has ended, winter sports are starting up, so boys and girls varsity and JV basketball teams and the wrestling team will be very busy in the coming weeks. So you can check out the Shepherd Hill Rams website for more information regarding their game schedule if you are interested in attending. For the arts, the Tri-M Music Honor Society has recently ended its application submission process. Applicants to this club will soon be admitted to this prestigious group. Our congratulations to anyone who will be a new member. Choir students have been rehearsing since September for their upcoming holiday spectacular this weekend, 12/13 and 12/14. Tickets can be purchased at shepherdhillchoirs.ticketleap.com. Drama is currently in production of their newest play, Hamlet Noir. More ticket information and dates to come in January as we continue to support our drama department. For school-wide news, Shepherd Hill students are currently making video advertisements for their classes, and these students are helping the guidance department by showcasing the activities offered in their favorite courses. On Wednesday, December 11th, from 5 to 6 p.m., Shepherd Hill will hold an academic showcase for 8th grade students. If your child is interested in attending Shepherd Hill, this is a great opportunity to learn more about what is taught here. Moving on to Bay Path sports.
By the way, thank you for pulling double duty today, we appreciate it.
You wanna go sit over there after that? Yes, yeah. Okay. No, I'm teasing. Slide this a little closer.
So school-wide, as of today, our school is officially a phone-free school, implementing Yonder pouches as part of our commitment to fostering a focused and distraction-free learning environment. This initiative ensures that students can engage more deeply with their studies, peers, and teachers without the interruptions of mobile devices during school hours. On Wednesday, December 4th, the boys football team defeated Whittier Tech 38-0, making us vocational state champions for the 3rd consecutive year in a row. Congratulations to the football team and all the coaches that carried us to this victory. As shops and trade areas, our business, entrepreneurship, and marketing shop is excited to host a Wrap It for Homeless Vets event, where this meaningful event invites teachers and staff to bring in unwrapped gifts, which our students will then wrap and organize for them. The initiative not only spreads holiday cheer, but also supports our goal of fundraising funds for homeless veterans. Together, we can make a difference in the lives of those who have served for our country. And as for Student Council, on Saturday, December 10th, we hosted a successful Santa breakfast, bringing the community together for a festive morning filled with holiday cheer. Families enjoyed delicious foods, fun activities, and the chance to take photos with Santa. The event not only spread joy, but also highlighted our school's commitment to fostering strong community bonds. Don't forget to stop by the new Minute shop when you visit for a delicious meal or any service provided by our salon. It's a great spot to support student initiatives and school spirit.
Good to know. Very nice. And congrats to the football team up there.
I know,
Wow. I guess.
Shall we move to the town administrator?
Sure, I don't really have much tonight, other than to wish everybody a happy holidays and wish Mary a happy birthday today.
Mary. Not bad for 21, huh? She probably drank.
All right, we got a couple minutes. Any other business unknown at posting?
Just so you guys know, I did ask Andrew to add an agenda item for January 14th, and you weren't here because you were the chair, to revisit just the Amazon incident and talk about potential police needs that we discovered through that incident.
Just build upon that, I'm gonna put it in on the agenda for budget priorities for the board, looking at FY '26. Right now, we are getting our recommendations from each department as far as what their requests are for the next year. So I'll be asking the board to kind of rank your priorities, what you guys want to see in the next year's budget, what you don't want to see in the next year's budget. So if you guys want to give it some thought over the next month, or while you're enjoying Christmas.
Yeah. Minor increases, that's what I want.
Yes.
Well, earlier you said
Scrooge.
decreases. You said decreases across the board.
You're looking like a cold.
And we've already established our next meeting, so we'll just wait for the poll here.
We have 5 minutes.
All right, I'm gonna run to the restroom.
See you then.
Take a 2-minute recess.
Yeah, 2-minute recess?
Yeah.
Drew, you good?
Alright, it being 7:45 PM. Opening a poll hearing for Carroll Hill Road. Attached you'll find a request from Massachusetts Electric Company, DBA National Grid, and Verizon New England Inc. requesting permission to install one joint link pole on Carroll Hill Road to service 2 new residential homes. Also attached is the notice that was sent to the abutters. This request has been forwarded and approved by both the police chief and DPW superintendent. No comments or concerns have been received. The chairman should open the public hearing by reading the notice as sent to abutters, and I'd recommend the board approve the request.
On December 3rd, 2024, the public hearing notice was sent. The Charlton Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, December 10th, 2024 at 7:45 in Meeting Room 1, 37 Main Street, Charlton, Mass. 01507, to act on a request from National Grid and Verizon New England seeking permission to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including necessary sustaining and protection fixtures along and across the following public ways. Carroll Hill Road. National Grid to install one joint-owned pole on Carroll Hill Road beginning at point approximately 1,246 feet north of the center line of the intersection of Worcester Road and Carroll Hill Road. Installing P35-50 in public way in order to service 2 new residential homes on Carroll Hill Road, Charlton, Mass. Anyone wishing to be heard on this matter should appear on the date and time specified or submit concerns in writing.
Well done, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, through you,
Go ahead.
I would ask if anyone in the audience or online has any concerns about this petition. Hearing none, I would make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman, as a follow-up to that, I would make a motion that we approve the request as submitted. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thanks for coming in, guys. We really do appreciate it. Yeah. It makes our life easier when there are questions. So, thank you.
All right.
Happy holidays.
Same to you.
Bring us into.
Oh, of course, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn into executive session, or go into executive session under MGL Chapter 38, Section 21A, Number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation, the fire chief contract. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares, to return to open session if needed and to adjourn.
Motion is second. Roll call.
Singer.
Aye.
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 Steve, aye.
We're good. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Brad. Thank you, Drew.
Thank you.